Hey guys, I'm Rachel Castile and welcome to Typology Corner. I've got a really great lesson for you guys today on the childhood messages and the core longing of each Enneagram type. This is one of my favorites because when you look at the core beliefs, what the child is believing, what I am believing, what I believed in childhood versus what I needed to hear, what my heart is longing for, when we can identify these core beliefs, we really start to understand the types on a profound level. You start to see all of these other things are kind of a byproduct or manifestations of living from these beliefs, whether it's the childhood message, which is more of the wounding message. It's something that seemed true in childhood, that kind of started the coping strategies of the type, and then also seeing freedom comes from believing the actual truth in that area that sets us free from like the chain of believing a lie, really. So this is all an exploration of like what lies, what untruths does each of the types believe that was kind of shown to them in childhood that seemed true, and how to get free from it. So just to kind of preface this to begin, these messages don't cause us to be the type that we are, but as the types that we are innately, when these messages kind of show up in our life, these are the ones we're most susceptible to, in unhealth, in brokenness. And yeah, they fit these types to have this sort of weakness and then needing a particular type of freedom as well. So yeah, I've taken notes on just my thoughts around this topic, and then I've got a quote as well from Beth McCord I'm gonna cover and then get into these messages. I call it the wounding message and then the healing message. It's what we believed versus what we needed to hear. So yeah, the childhood message is the message that the child unconsciously walked away believing that their parents or environment taught them about themselves. This doesn't mean that the truth wasn't spoken to them, but this is what the child really felt deep down. The truthful messages got drowned out by their belief in the wounding message. The childhood message doesn't cause a person to be the type that they are, but it does affect their level of health within their innate Enneagram type. It becomes the core belief that shapes their worldview and their decisions going forward. So here's a quote from Beth McCord. I am taking her Your Enneagram Coach certification program right now to become a certified Enneagram life coach. And this is how she describes the core longing. It's also called the lost message as well by other authors. But yeah, it's the message that our hearts long to hear. So while a child, they longed and strived to hear one particular message from their parents or other authority figures. But unfortunately, they never fully felt they heard it. This message is still something they long to hear from others. So just to reiterate, it doesn't mean that parents didn't speak something true over the child, but that the wounding message had already taken root in their heart. And for, lots of us, well, we have different stories. Like, it could be that somebody literally spoke something like not good over you very directly, and then you walked away with that statement. For others, it's just the brokenness of our families, generational brokenness, what the previous generation didn't have, they couldn't give, that sort of thing. And just the environment kind of felt that a certain statement was true. That became a wounding message. And then within that type, you're kind of living by that and then going from there, fending for yourself in that area. So yeah. Once the heart is in self-protection mode, the truth isn't getting through to children, to us as adults. But yeah, once a belief is set in, that's what we live from. Our perceptions are shaped by what we already believe. causing us to reject evidence of the contrary. But what's amazing is the healing message, that statement of freedom, it has the power to wake us up from the negative coping strategies of our Enneagram type. When your heart truly begins to believe this healing message, it will set you free and unlock all that you were created to be. You'll get to know the infinite potential of your real self, uninhibited by your childhood fears and perceptions. So it really is true that truth sets us free. But which truth does your heart need? How are you bound? That's what matters. This is why understanding our type, seeing where we currently are, it points us in the right direction to what freedom looks like for us. So I advise you, as you listen to this video, listen for what resonates just with your heart. Like, what does your heart need? What rings true for you? And whenever you can kind of place that, you've most likely found your type. So also, I'm going to cover the desires. I talked about this in a previous video, but I'm going to bring it up again to kind of show how the desire of each type is affected by the wounding message as well. And it's kind of causing the type to deteriorate into something else, something that's not quite like what we're created for. So whenever we're believing a lie, it's affecting our desire as well, and it winds up manifesting in a distorted way. So I'm going to cover that alongside with talking about the wounding message and the healing message. So, but all of this is solved by the healing message, by truth. The more our hearts can really come to know truth, to believe truth, to allow truth to shift our perceptions, to see from a new or through a different lens, the more free we get, the more we move into the healthier levels of our type. And like these Enneagram types are beautiful, beautiful gifts. So they get distorted by our brokenness, by our fallenness. So as we're restored, as we're healed, you'll see that desire manifest through us very purely, that we can walk through that. We can exhibit that in life. We can be that kind of the epitome, the virtue of our type in the world, in community. So, all right, guys, so let's get started with type 1. I'm going to go type 1 through 9. Type 1 is called the reformer. I'm going to briefly show you this image again of all of our types. We've got type 1, the reformer, then the helper, the achiever, the individualist, the investigator, the loyalist, the enthusiast, the challenger, and the peacemaker. So you'll see these names in these behaviors, in these beliefs. All right, so let's start with type 1. Type 1 is the reformer, and their wounding message is it's not okay to make mistakes. This is just what they picked up in childhood. It's making mistakes was not okay. I have to do the right thing. I have to be good. I have to be perfect in a sense. And the core desire of type 1 is to have integrity. This is just innate to them. And but as a result of believing this wounding message, it deteriorates into critical perfectionism. There's an angst about doing this. It's like, I cannot make a mistake. I have to be perfect. I've got to do it right. It becomes a rigid sort of push down, pushing their anger down, aiming to perfect the world, to perfect the self. And the healing message for type 1 is you are good. So when the types know this truth, to just be what they are to begin with, they live from it. There's a rest in this, that they don't become not good when they make a mistake. But when believing that wounding message, they're getting their value, or they're, okay with themselves when they don't make mistakes. So they're suddenly bad. They lose their goodness, is how it feels. So, yeah, their desire of integrity, it deteriorates into perfectionism, being critical towards the self. That inner critic is like terrorizing them, reprimanding them more than anyone could reprimand them outside of themselves. Is how this manifests in our type 1s. On to type 2. Type 2 is the helper. And their wounding message is it's not okay to have your own needs. This just feels true to them. They shift the focus onto other people's needs. They don't talk about theirs. They don't bring that up. It's not okay to have your own needs. That's selfish. It's how it feels. This is what they picked up in childhood. And their desire is simply to be loved. And but in this state, it deteriorates into the need to be needed. This is how they are getting love, by meeting other people's needs, watching the reactions they get from others, the appreciation they get from others for being helpful, being in tune with other people. They get addicted to that reaction as love. So, yeah. And the healing message for type 2 is you are loved. Or you are wanted. They're both it. I wrote wanted and said loved. But yeah, you are wanted. You don't have to do something for me in order for me to want you. You just are wanted. You are loved. Yeah, this sets our type 2 free. On to type 3. Type 3 is the achiever. And the wounding message of their childhood is it's not okay to have your own feelings and identity. You can't be you. You got to become something else. You got to achieve something. You've got to be successful in the ways that we deem success. Their core desire is to be valuable. To have value innately. But this deteriorates into chasing after success, shifting their identity, pushing their feelings down, totally disassociating from their feelings, over-identifying with the image that they've created with a false identity of success, according to the standards of those that they want to be admired by. So they felt this in their childhood in some way that, they were not valued for their own emotions and their own identity, that they couldn't just be them. They needed to become something more than themselves. Yeah. And the message that sets type 3 free is you are loved for yourself. When they believe this and live from this, it unlocks authenticity for them, where they can just be who they are and be successful and thrive and achieve in the way that they're wired to do. But it won't be at the expense of the self. They'll live from the real self and know that they are valuable instead of chasing success to be valuable. All right, type 4. Type 4 is the individualist. And their wounding childhood message is it's not okay to be too functional or too happy. Just kind of unpack that. This comes from feeling different, feeling that they weren't mirrored by their parents. They didn't identify or feel like anybody around them. Therefore, they thought something was missing about them, that other people had something that they didn't have. They felt flawed in some way. That they almost don't trust behaving like everybody else just to be happy, to fully function normally. They pull back into this melancholy a bit. That it's, I can't be too functional. I can't be too happy. I can't be too normal. That's what they picked up in childhood. And their desire is to be oneself, just to be in their uniqueness, to be exactly who they are. But this deteriorates into self-indulgence. They are very in touch with their emotions, what they're going through, and yeah, they go on their own path of trying to find themselves and yeah, kind of indulging in their emotions, indulging in kind of self-pity a bit about what's going on in their life, about how they feel different and how they feel misunderstood. Yeah, so it can become self-indulgence instead of just being oneself. And the healing message that wakes them up and sets them free is you are seen for who you are. So your uniqueness is seen. You are special, and we love you for that. The comparison starts to drop, and they can just fully be happy and enjoy who they are and showing that to the world and being that as that lie comes unlocked in them. So, yeah, that's our type 4s. Now, on to type 5, the investigator. Their wounding message is it's not okay to be comfortable in the world. This is another interesting one. It's not okay to be comfortable in the world. This comes from them not feeling that their needs is, they feel as though their needs are too much. I somewhat can kind of mix this up with type 2. It's kind of both around needs. But yeah, they think as a child that they were too much, that they had to pull back. They had to kind of take care of themselves or withhold themselves. That, it's not okay to really just fully join the present moment, but that they have to pull back and become knowledgeable and kind of get more prepared and, fearing that their needs won't be met if they just engage with everybody else. It's a fear of being depleted by other people. So they're kind of managing their own needs apart from everyone else. And their desire is to be competent, to be, capable. And that's not a bad thing, but it deteriorates into useless specialization, becoming knowledgeable, analyzing things, gathering information, becoming an expert in all kinds of kind of random things, as they're kind of, preparing and getting themselves to a state of competence to then reemerge and to join the world. So, but just as themselves, they're not feeling comfortable to just be with everyone else. For fear of being depleted. So the healing message for our type 5 that sets them free is your needs are not a problem. That's what their heart is longing for, to know that their needs aren't a problem. Like you can emerge, you can be with us. You're not too much. You're not too much. Like your needs are not too much. You can be yourself. You can tell us where you're really at, You can share your life. You won't be depleted. All right, so on to type 6, the loyalist. Their core wounding message, their childhood message is it's not okay to trust yourself. This is another interesting one. Like they have a lot of inner voices creating chaos. They have like they talk about type 1 having like an inner critic, and they have like type 6 has an inner committee of voices, warning them about every negative possibility, what could go wrong. Every way to see something. And it creates indecision or confusion for type 6, that they don't feel that they can trust their own inner guidance. They can't trust themselves to make a decision, that they might make the wrong decision. So their core desire is to be secure. But they don't feel that they can create that in of themselves. So this causes them to go outside of themselves, to people around them, belief systems, subscribing to belief systems, and having a group of people that they can check in with. They can bounce things off of people and get the feedback, and kind of like go off of somebody else's decision, because they don't feel that they can trust themselves. In childhood, this is what seemed true to them. This is something their environment taught them, their parents taught them, like, hey, you can't trust yourself. You can't make a right decision. You got to rely on us. You got to rely on the belief system. It could be like, you got to rely on the church. You can't think for yourself. We give you how you should make decisions. That could, for a 6, be pretty wounding to them, and it'll really set in there that it makes them reliant on that external system all the more, because that belief is like, I thought I had my own thought, but I can't trust myself. I can't actually follow my own inner voice. My inner guidance might lead me astray. I don't know, in a sense. So, but yeah, their desire to be secure, it deteriorates into an attachment to beliefs. Those words are kind of hard to say together. Into an attachment to beliefs, as I just described before. This is how they find security. Instead of actually being secure, being confident in their own ability, they find security in others, in a guiding compass outside of themselves. And how do they wake up from this? How do they be themselves, or trust themselves, rather? It is the truth that you are safe. Yeah. I'm just kind of thinking through how those are connected. But yeah, you are safe. When you know that you're safe, you can trust yourself. You can hear clearly. You can make a decision. I think in not feeling safe, there's a panic to it. There's that anxiety. The anxiety causes them to latch onto something outside of themselves. But yeah, the you are safe statement, that true belief, allows them to stay in rest and then make decisions from rest. So it's the anxiety, the lack of trusting themselves, that sends them into a bit of a frantic way of navigating life, thinking through all of the negative. So it's not looking through safety. It's looking at everything that they fear, that they're worried about. You could call it worry, and navigating life by entertaining worry. And then, so truly I'm seeing, just as I'm kind of talking through it, like, yes, you are safe is the solution to this lack of trusting the self. So just as I'm saying this, just as we're parents, as we're friends, as we're siblings to other people, these are the truths that set people free. So yeah, this is very beautiful as I look at it, and how to help different people. So yeah. All right, on to type 7, the enthusiasts. Their core wounding message, their childhood message, is it's not okay to depend on anyone for anything. Where does that come from? It comes from the 7 not feeling that their needs are being met by those who are responsible to meet their needs as a child. They don't feel that they're gonna be taken care of. So it's like, I can't depend on anyone for anything. That's true to them. And you'll see how that affects them. it creates an independence in them. It's like, I will take care of myself. No one's going to take care of me. I will take care of my own needs. I will make sure that I'm happy. The desire of type 7 is to be happy, to be fulfilled. That's at the core of them. They want to be happy. So they go out and create this for themselves. So it deteriorates into frenetic escapism. They wind up not being in the present. They escape into the future, into planning, into keeping positive things on the horizon, staying upbeat. They're like, I'm going to make myself happy. I'm going to meet all of my needs. I'm going to make sure I am fulfilled by always planning something to fill their bucket. Sadly, this pattern never leads to something that has them really feeling satisfied, because it's coming out of a wounded place, in believing that I can't depend on anyone for anything. That's not a true thing, but very much like whoever we started life with, our parental figures or whatever was like pivotal. This belief, absolutely, like when I talk about these, I don't want to say that the child had no reason to believe these. Like, we all very well could find ourselves in situations that there really was lack, that there really was brokenness. But is it true about the whole world? It may be true about your family unit, your environment in your childhood, but it is not true about all of reality. So, yeah, it becomes a limiting belief. So, yeah, what is the message that heals and sets our type 7 free? It is, you will be taken care of. Yeah. Your needs will be met. You will be provided for. You will be fulfilled. Yeah, as we learn to live from this truth, it's a place of rest. When you believe a real truth, it produces rest in you. You can rest. It's like faith. What you actually put your faith in, you've rested in this. So you can look at it that way, that all of these types have put faith in the wounding message. We're resting in that lie. So we have to shift and rest in a different belief. And when we rest, when the type 7 rest in you will be taken care of, they won't be frantically planning out fulfilling experiences that's coming from a place of my needs won't be met, so I have to, It keeps them on the run. It keeps them out of the present moment. It keeps them not experiencing life as it's happening. When they're in their good moments, they're already into the next moment, planning the next one, kind of missing what's happening is what it can become. But yeah, type 7, you will be taken care of. All right, type 8, the challenger. Their core wounding message in childhood is it's not okay to be vulnerable or to trust anyone. This one I can see clearly where that comes from. It's their trust being broken. It's somebody betraying them in some way. It wasn't safe. I was weak in a moment and then someone took advantage of that. So yeah, it's not okay to be vulnerable or to trust anyone. In some way, they were startled out of their, community, or they were startled out of how they felt in their family unit, or maybe it's with their parents, or it could be anything. It could be something at school. But yeah, vulnerability went bad is what type 8's belief. It went bad and I'm never doing that again. It's not okay to be vulnerable. It's not okay to put your trust in someone. They might take advantage of what you share with them. Their core desire is to protect oneself. And this deteriorates into constant fighting. So yeah, it's having to have a strong display, having to kind of push against the world to protect the self. So protecting yourself isn't a bad thing, but the 8 can be in a constant state of pushing against the things in order to protect the self, because, I don't know that I can trust you. I'm wanting to communicate this through the lens of the wounding message. So yeah, the wounding message is affecting all of this and how that desire, that core desire, manifest. Fighting and pushing and keeping a wall up, staying strong, which is kind of, you could call it, it's being on the offensive. It can be aggressive somewhat, having to stay in an aggressive stance against the world to protect the self. Because, and seeing that vulnerability isn't good. The freedom is seeing that being vulnerable is actually a beautiful thing. And then that can kind of like ease the fighting energy around that protection. So what is their healing message? Their healing message is you will not be betrayed. You will not be betrayed. Therefore, you can be vulnerable. Therefore, you can trust. You will not be betrayed. Yeah. This is a very powerful type in general. They are the challenger. This is positive things about them, but how do they sit and rest and be who they are? It's just knowing, yeah, you can trust. You can trust. You can let your guard down. You can show your weaker side. You can show your tender side. 8s are actually known to have the most pure, innocent, tender hearts. Which is why they are inclined to build such a strong wall, to be so big, is to protect the self, when resting in a lie that you can't trust anyone. So yeah, that's hope for type 8. That's freedom for type 8. And then on to type 9. Type 9 is the peacemaker. And their core wounding message, the childhood message, is it's not okay to assert yourself. They're struggling with knowing that they matter. They know that other people matter, but they go to sleep to the self. And yeah, they don't push their agenda much. Their thoughts, they kind of merge with others. And their core desire is to be at peace. Yeah. To keep internal peace, external peace. If everyone's happy, I'm happy. That sort of place. And this deteriorates into stubborn neglectfulness. Yeah, that's 2 things that are kind of core to the peacemaker. They have a stubbornness. They're in that gut triad. They're kind of resisting, but in a more passive aggressive way. They're kind of they're resisting the self, and they're resisting others. They're resisting letting themselves really emerge, and they're resisting someone pushing on them too. So it's like, I want to keep things stable. I want to keep things at peace. And yeah, that's how that kind of manifests. And then the neglectfulness is shows up in them neglecting themselves. They can go to sleep to themselves, their own value, their own voice, just going numb in order to get peace. So yeah. And what's the message that wakes up our type 9 that sets them free? It is that your presence matters. This heals our type 9. Your presence matters. Show yourself. Let us hear your voice. You can assert yourself. And it can feel like conflict to type 9. I assert it myself, And man, so much happened. This person reacted this way. I felt uncomfortable myself. I didn't like that. I didn't like how I made them feel. Yeah, I'm just not going to say my opinions anymore, that sort of thing. But yeah, your presence matters. Type 9, when you begin to believe this and you sit in it and you rest in it, you live from this place, you start to believe this more so than, harmony at all cost. And what it's costing you is you to maintain false peace. So yeah, your presence matters. Just to reiterate, I'm going to say the truth of each of the types and then kind of close out the video here. So type 1, you are good. Type 2, you are wanted. Type 3, you are loved for yourself. Type 4, you are seen for who you are. Type 5, your needs are not a problem. Type 6, you are safe. Type 7, you will be taken care of. Type 8, you will not be betrayed. Type 9, your presence matters. The truth sets us free. And I really love this lesson. I hope that you've gotten value out of it. Yeah, this is what unlocks our types. All of us have infinite potential, and we begin to step into that, to see what that is, to evolve into the beings that we are. We're spirit beings. We are living beings on earth. We're eternal. And we kind of tap into that timelessness that we are as we get untethered from these lower levels of our personality types, of our wiring. And yeah, I just encourage you to lean into rest. If you need to turn these truths into affirmations, things that you say every day till you believe it, to learn to meditate on it, that can really help. Yeah, we can all benefit from all of these truths. Just think of it, each of these types have a hard time believing a particular truth, and it's the one that's the opposite of the childhood message that they have. They kind of collide. So yeah, take the time to, hear your heart, listen for your heart, to journal out, what am I believing? What am I really struggling with? What do I just think is absolutely true that's causing me to have to defend myself, protect myself, meet my own needs, manage my own happiness and stuff. And yeah, lean into truth, seek truth, and you'll become more self-aware. You begin to see yourself more, and then you see kind of your voids, and then you can walk into filling those voids with truth. And truth sets you free to be all that you're created to be. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you for your time. Again, if you got value out of this, go and give me a thumbs up. I appreciate the feedback in knowing that this video made an impact, that it was helpful to you. And subscribe for future content. I'm going to continue to roll out videos on the Enneagram, just making this a bit more simple to you. There's a lot of aspects to the Enneagram. It's really a study of understanding yourself and others and what freedom looks like. So, but yeah, guys, that's it. And I will see y'all on the next one.